Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Uneducated Takes. I'm your host with the most, Juan. Here, always joined, of course, with the heavyweight champion, REG.
Let's go.
And today we're going to bring you a UFC 302 recap. I know it's been a little bit, but, we're going to be here. We're going to break this stuff down. And obviously, it's the beginning of the summer. It's a beautiful time for fights because we have so many good cards in the next 3 months, and I can't wait. So we're pretty much just going to start going off and just kind of get into this card. I'm going to be honest with you, a lot going on in the last couple of weeks, but this one was a card that I was very excited for. At the beginning of its announcement, I was a little skeptical as to why Dustin, of all people, did get the title shot against Islam, but man, to me, he proved that he deserved that shot.
Yeah.
Now, question for you, as always, how do you want to get into it? Do we want to go top to bottom?
To bottom.
Or bottom to top? Are we going with the main event, or are we going with the first one to kick off the card? Build up to it.
Let's build up to it.
Let's build up to it. All right, so then we're going to go with Randy Brown versus, this one, I pride myself a lot on trying to get these names correct. A lot of these foreign fighters, listen, I do my due diligence, but some of you, you got to come with an instruction manual. Now, listen, I'm Dominican, so I know how hard some of these names are. Shout out to my sister, Radelkis, so I understand. But Randy Brown versus Elizao Zaleski dos Santos.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
That one was a good fight. Honestly, I was locked into it for a lot.
Yeah, remember in the beginning you mentioned Randy Brown.
Rude boy.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just like, gotta put a bet in. And it was literally last second was able to get it in there. And I ended up winning money on this fight.
Good. Listen, like I say, all my picks are great except for when they're wrong. Then don't listen to me. But other than that, it should be fine. Yeah, Randy Brown with the win via decision. I thought it was a good fight. Here's my only thing that I have some critique. I've listened to a couple other people talk about, a couple other podcasts that I've listened to, and some other people's takes, just professionals in the sport. I think there was some unintentional cheating. Is the way I'm gonna say it.
Okay.
Now, I'm not gonna put a whole lot of blame on Randy Brown for this. I will say, just as a heads up to everybody, UFC 302 was actually there was a new introduction to the game. They came out with these new gloves that they gave to all the fighters to basically use for this fight. There were a lot of eye pokes this entire card on almost every fight. To the point where, and we'll get into it later, but Islam, the champion, had the UFC logo coming off the hand at the end of the fight. So
that's crazy.
That's some like cheap, great value brand Walmart stuff. So I don't really know what's going on there. But with Randy Brown, it's one of those things of these like tall, lanky fighters, the same thing as the John Jones. What is this?
Yeah.
What is this?
Some people get smacked.
Close your hands.
Yeah.
These are fists. Why are you?
And when they made the new gloves too, I thought that it was gonna help keep the fist closed.
Idea. The idea is that it's supposed to be like this.
But it seems like everybody still got their fingers out.
I don't know if maybe it was a thing of they were like a little uncomfortable with it, like they haven't gotten used to using the gloves yet. But for me, they were a lot more eye pokes than needed. Yeah, I was listening to somebody go off. They were like 3 eye pokes. They're like apparently he hit him in the nuts like twice. So like whether or not they took the time out, but he hit him in the nuts twice. There was a fence grab at some point. That one I don't like the fence grabs. This is a sport where you got to defend the takedown, but you're not allowed to use your environment to your advantage. Yeah. So if you're trying to grab a cage to keep a guy from bringing you down to the ground, A, that's dangerous because you can lose a finger.
Yeah, right.
But B, you're cheating. That's full out cheating. You should get a point taken away. As now a fan of the sport for a few years, like 5+, I do feel like the game has evolved to where it seems like they were harsher on you beforehand than they are now. Yeah. Now I'm seeing fights where guys are getting away with 3 eye pokes in a fight, or they're getting warnings for fence grabs, but like multiple warnings. Listen, after the first one, it's a point deducted. For some things, I think it should be an immediate point deduction. Yeah, obviously, it's up to the ref's discretion, but you guys need to chill. Like, you got to think about it this way. You get poked in the eye like once, even if it's an accident, it throws off your whole game.
Bro,
you got to deal with this now. You're like all up in this here, you know what I mean? Like, you got to make sure that you can see. It's thrown off like your rhythm. It let you be sweating on top of the eye poke. Now you really can't see. Depending on how bad it is, I've seen where like the Leon Edwards, Bilal Muhammad, where it goes like knuckle deep, pause no diddy into his eye. So like, I'm set off of that one. Besides that, good win by Randy Brown.
Definitely
won us both some money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like I don't know if it's the gloves, I don't know if it's the fighter, but I will say this card, there were a few in the early prelims, the prelims. There was a couple of different times where people were getting eye pokes. So I don't know. I maybe go back to the old gloves. We talked about this before. There's like other people that have come out with like their own version of a UFC or MMA glove that they think should be used, that it curves a little bit more. Again, I'm not a fighter, so I don't know. But it seems like everybody has the same consensus. Trevor Whitman, the coach for like Justin Gaethje, what's her name, Rose Namajunas, etc. He has come up with his own glove that apparently is the glove that people should be using. So UFC, look into that one.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Pay him what it's worth.
It's just hard. It's hard to come up with a good glove that doesn't allow you to keep your hands open. It's such a grappling sport.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do I imagine grappling with only boxing gloves?
That's what I'm saying. It's weird because it's like
stubs.
Yeah. I'm thinking about that. You literally have to like wrap your hands around. You can't lock the hands, you know. They got to come up with something because you're right though. That's a weird line you got to cross between like you being able to open so that you can like, because like when you'll see them like wrap around, you always see them grip like this. So it's weird to think about like how are you going to do that when your hands are always like that? You have to like a Lego piece, make sure you get it in there. The weirdest dap of all time. I feel like. It's just not it. But moving on from that one, after that we got Nico Price versus Alex Morono. I'm a fan of Alex Morono, I'm going to say it like that. A little weird just because it's like he's a dog. Like he's an absolute dog. Is he the best fighter? No.
Right.
But he's a dog. Like he'll get in there and he'll strike with the best of them. Only thing with him, and I heard this comment earlier that I thought was really funny. Somebody said it looks like he got no knees. Like he's just straight legged the whole time. If you look at him, the way he fights, like you square up. You dig your heels in, you get these hands up. He's like bouncing on like his tippy toes, like the whole time. Not like anybody else that like bounces around, but he's literally on the tips of his toes. So you can't really generate power like that. You can get around, you can move around the ring very effectively, but if you were to like sit down in that punch to get that real like power, say you're gonna throw like overhand, like he's not generating that. So I wonder if there's a respect thing that comes with that. If you're not really like landing very hard, if the guy's going to take you lightly. Alex Morono unfortunately lost. Shout out Nico Price for getting that win via decision. Not the best fight on the card. I'm going to be honest with you. The whole card as of a whole, not very good. But
it was.
The prelims honestly were pretty good. I think the prelims were pretty good. I think the early prelims, there were a lot of up-and-coming fighters that you guys should really look out for. Shout out, I got to look at this dude's name, but Romanov. That dude's a beast.
Nice.
Let me see what
this card was a lot of like decisions and submissions.
There was 3 finishes, and all 3 were submissions. This card was not it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Listen, this is uneducated MMA. If I'm gonna have you come over to my house to watch a fight, I want it to be knockouts, first or second round submissions. I want the excitement to be there because that's what gets you guys to stay and love the sport. Now, there's these mid-ass decisions. Ain't nobody watching this, bro. Nobody's trying to watch this. I also don't like that a lot of times it'll be decisions with terrible scorecards. I think that these judges, I think there needs to be a change. I think there needs to be a format in which, listen, I don't need you to sit in front of like the whole press conference room and have all these people attack you. But I think with any other sport where there's like a controversial decision that's made, I think as the person who makes that decision, you need to at least give a reason behind it. Let them come out with like.
I think they're doing like little they're eye testing it.
Yeah.
You know what? I think this guy got it.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Listen,
they're freely just
Saturday nights. At least I don't know about the judges. This is me personally. Saturday nights, you're chilling, you're watching the fights, you have your friends over, everybody's talking, there's like drinking, there's eating, there's people getting up to go to the bathroom. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So even I don't get the fights perfectly correct. This is your job. Yeah. You are being paid to sit there and watch. And you are messing up. Like, I don't agree with that. That's what the bad thing when it comes to these decisions. Like, they say it all the time to these fighters, don't put the fight in the judge's hands. But at the same time, I have the judges.
Yeah, right.
You would hope that they would be fair, honest, you know.
And they have such a bad reputation of just being rigged.
I think that the part of it is that they don't give these like, I guess it's a statement, a press statement is the best way to say it. After the fight, whatever the fight may be, every single one will say, have one or all three of the judges go to like a Megan O'Leary or whatever, somebody who's and just give them an explanation. They don't have. I'm not asking for them to get crucified.
Like I don't even see these guys.
They say their names, but they don't show a face.
they don't ever. Nothing. They're like the jury.
Yeah, they're just
like they just like
they're hiding under the table. Yeah. Even like the announcers, when they're there, like they have the little TVs in front of them. They're able to watch the fight on a closer scale, similar to how we watch it at home on our TVs. Maybe get better camera angles. I find that they have better judging sometimes. That's closer to what actually happened in the fight, and they have to worry about also announcing while they're doing it. Versus you have these judges that all you're doing there is watching the fight. Yeah. You're not even supposed to. I don't think you're supposed to discuss.
Do they have like notebooks and they just score?
Yeah, they have like the 10 must system. They have to go through and they have to pick who got what score on each round. And to my knowledge, they don't discuss it with each other. They are just there focusing on it themselves.
They should definitely be more transparent with like their. Because we get to see the stats, like punches landed, the percentages.
Well, ESPN, you'll be able to see as it's like, going on.
Like even like in the other sports, if they make a mistake too, I don't know what the council or whatever can like reverse it.
Yeah,
like I just seen WNBA, a technical foul got taken back.
Yeah, you can if you aren't a fan or you don't agree with a certain decision, you can appeal it. There have been some people that have tried to appeal it. Has it gone through? No.
And how long does that take?
I would say maybe like I've heard of one case, and even then I can't really even think of it. So I'm going to go with probably not. I think that more often than not, people just take the L because they're just like, it's not even worth me trying to appeal it. So they'll just accept it.
How bad do you want a perfect record?
I will say there are a lot of times where if it's egregious enough, I think enough people will back you that you have a right to go ahead and complain and try to get that decision overturned. But if not, a lot of people, like I said, they just take the L. It's like fighting against the machine. You just, what are you going to do? You know, it's just corporate, all this other nonsense. It gets tied up in legalities. You got to go to the commission of that state that you fought in and appeal that on top of worrying about training for whatever other camp you might have or your family and this and the third. How much is it worth it to you? Here's what I will say. A lot of people who may not know the way that these fighters get paid, usually the way the contract works is you get show money, so a amount of money to show up. Then you get paid a win. You get win money, so if you win, you get that extra money. Then there's obviously the bonuses and whatnot, so the win bonus, fight of the nights, and those things. So you have to understand, these are these people's careers. This is what they do for a living. This is how they make their money. The people that you know that are the top 1% or the 0.00001%, like the Conor McGregors that are making like crazy money, those people don't necessarily have to worry about it too much. But then when you have the majority of the other roster, other couple of hundred fighters that are employed by the UFC, they're getting paid like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to show up, and that same $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to win. That's $40,000 at the very max, we'll say, a year. Yo, you make more at a McDonald's, and you're not getting swung on the face, depending on which McDonald's you work at. But you know, I just feel like for some of these fighters, like they really got to speak up more, and there needs to be a better system for them to be able to like kind of push back against it. I don't know.
Do they have like a union?
No.
Association?
So
for fighters?
It's been a little bit, but this is actually an interesting subject you just brought up. So they don't have a union. There's no fighter organization that pushes for the fighters. There was actually this legal battle, and listen, again, uneducated MMA, I have to put that as a preface so you guys can look into it your own. I'm going to just give what I remember. There was a legal battle that was happening a few months ago where basically a couple of the other fighters were suing the organization of the UFC over fighter pay, that they weren't getting paid fairly for the money that they were bringing in as like pay-per-view draw-ins and whatnot. There was an opportunity, a big window for all these other fighters to come in and join in on that lawsuit so that they can get, we'll call it a union that gives you health benefits, dental.
It makes sense.
Something afterwards when you retire, like just something to pad you or whatever it may be. But not enough people showed up is the way I'm going to say it. I think the bigger thing is that a lot of those fighters were older fighters, that like older generation fighters, and maybe like the younger viewers don't know. I myself didn't know a whole lot of them, only a handful of names that I knew. I do think that it takes a Conor McGregor, a Dustin Poirier, a John Jones, like an Izzy, like these big big, like, you just put him on there. Mind you, Dustin Poirier is not even like a champion. You just put his name on there and you're getting pay-per-view.
Yeah.
All these people that get what's called pay-per-view points. So like I was explaining the payment like of you fighting for the UFC. Another thing is once you become a champion, you get what's called pay-per-view points. So then you get a certain cut of how many people buy the pay-per-view, or depending on the venue, you can even you can get in your contract that it's like a percentage of the people that come into the door. I don't know if you guys saw those ticket prices for UFC events, but when they came to Boston, the nosebleeds was $1,000 for the farthest back seat
crazy.
in TD.
Because that was definitely like, yeah, I'm definitely going. And like,
ooh, you spending $30,000 to sit in like in the middle and the far back, like it's not worth it. So you would get a cut for doing stuff like that. So those bigger names, if they were to step in and put in for the lawsuit and say no, like we're standing with Joe Schmo that's unranked, that's also making nothing, but he's got to work just as hard as we do. It's a shame. I'm a big fan, I would say, of that like collaboration, especially when so many people complain about the pay.
Yeah.
Fighters, journalists, media.
It just makes sense because like every other sport has it.
Yeah.
Every other sport has but there's times when they're negotiating and shit goes into a lockout.
There's a lot.
And we don't get no sport for a little bit.
Here's what I will say, and this is how. There's a chance for people to make it competitive against the UFC, so the UFC is not just like a full-blown monopoly in the sport of MMA. It's the fighter pay. People choose to go to the PFL over the UFC because the PFL has, to some people, a better payment structure. Okay. Or at the time when they existed before the PFL like took them over, Bellator, also a similar idea. They would pay you to be there. So where you got to go to UFC, I would say, this is the notoriety. This is where you build your brand. At a certain point, if you play your cards right, you'll make crazy money. But random Joe Schmo, your name will be bigger here than if you were to go to the PFL or the Bellators or whatever other brand you may go to. The One Championships, the Glory Kickboxings. If you want to get into the other types of like MMA sports, you can get into those, or even, I guess, standardized practices.
It's hard
like
to tap into those.
It's like, hard because the thing is,
so
it's the UFC. You know what I mean? Like it's this huge.
I might watch a PFL fight, but like,
when was the last time you caught an XFL game? Go ahead,
dude.
Even just recently, I would say people are getting into the WNBA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just hard because it's like the brand.
Like another league. It's not like soccer where like several leagues are.
Yeah.
Like,
they have it a lot different. I want to get a little bit more into soccer to figure out how they get that done. But I think it's just at a certain point, I think the UFC, when MMA was becoming big as a sport, let's say in the US, but mainly like worldwide, I think that they just had the better financial backing. They had the better production. So now everyone just knows them. Yeah. And they've managed to, in a way, squash out the competition, but then also make this huge gap where now it's even harder for people to, in other organizations, compete with that. Right. So when you don't have these fighters that are standing up for that kind of pay, you have to be okay with getting shafted by the UFC. That's why you see these dudes that are like, I'm not going to say any names because hopefully one day, you know, I'll be able to get into a UFC event and be able to be in the presses, and who knows, we'll see how this career takes me.
Yeah, right.
But there are a couple of people, and you know, those people that are there, and some other fans that are watching know exactly who I'm talking about, that are company men, that they will say nothing bad about the UFC because they're employed by the UFC. Right. Former fighters that then turn into whatever, like for like usually like analysts or whatever it may be for the UFC. A lot of those guys, like, that's your job. You're not going to go bad, or what is it, bite the hand that feeds you. So they're not going to go against that. But they should, because at a certain point, you're like, it's not worth it. It makes more sense for you to go to the PFL where they have a literal tournament that at the end of it, you win $1 million. I'd rather do that, you know, than go to the UFC 4 or 5 years making at most like $100,000 over the course of 2 or 3 years as an unranked fighter. I'm saying, obviously,
it definitely doesn't make sense. I was like, even like playing UFC. Like the gap in pay, like let's say like I feel like most of the fights you're getting paid such little. Mm-hmm. It'll be like a 5K, then you get like 8K, 10K, and then eventually you get into like a 30K.
Yeah.
But then after that, there's like 100+ K. I feel like there's like
you gotta think about it in the way we'll talk about it in the way of the card. You're on the early prelims. The thing we were talking about with UFC 300, the early prelims. were people going to show up? Because this is UFC 300.
Yeah.
This is huge. People showed up for that one.
Right.
In the early 5 p.m., 6 p.m., people were in those seats. Most other UFC events, whether it's a pay-per-view or it's a fight night, ain't nobody in those seats, man. That's why I asked the question. Because I'm like,
true.
nobody shows up to these. So you're talking about the UFC game, so we'll use that as an example. You're unranked when you first start.
No, right.
Bro, you're on the early prelims.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you're the first fight on that early prelim.
Yeah,
you're the one that opens it. Ain't nobody care. Nobody but the diehard and me are watching that fight. So you're not really like, what are they going to pay you for what? You're not drawing in anything.
Yeah.
Let's say you build, you're getting some wins. Now, from the beginning of the early prelim, we're going to move you to the end of the early prelim. Still the early prelim. Still not a lot of people watching.
Yeah, right.
You're getting paid a few $1,000s more. Then you get into the prelims. Then you become the main event of the prelims, main card. And obviously, outside factors fuel into like how big you get. That's the kind of nervous thing about these younger fighters on whether or not, how early do you get them to put them in with killers. Who am I thinking of right now? I guess you could say like, not really Sean Strickland because he's been in the thing for a while. Right. But like a Sean O'Malley, we'll say him.
Yeah.
Sean O'Malley is somebody that they were like, when do we throw him in? When does he get the title shot? But you had to kind of play it a little slow with him because you wanted to make sure, yes, he's huge. He's got this huge following because everybody likes how cool he looks and all this and the third. But now we got to make sure the skill and talent meets like all the other media and all the hype that he's getting. Because if you don't, then your investment, all the money you poured into this guy, gone out the window. Right. Versus the idea of like making another Conor McGregor, another guy that'll get random people that don't watch UFC to watch UFC. So that's when you start investing a little bit more into that guy and you get him a little bit bigger. So that's when you see the pay kind of get all weird. And then as you build your brand, we'll say as a fighter, you can argue a little bit and you can kind of like negotiate better with the UFC to get paid a little bit more. And then like I said earlier, you become a championship. That's when the big money comes in. Yeah. Also, just as a thing, if you have to hold that belt. That's another one.
Yeah, that's tough.
You have to hold that belt to get that money. If you don't, you're not getting it. There's very few outliers that'll still get pay-per-view points to get paid more than whatever their contract is, but it's very few. Like we know these big names, but like I was before the cameras turned on, like we were talking, like I said, there's very few people that are of note that you can say to somebody random and they'll know who you're talking about. Right. Conor McGregor literally is only one of them. Yeah, I would say there's like maybe two other guys now, but it's Conor McGregor. Izzy maybe. And even then they'll be like, Style Bender, right? Like they won't even know his actual name. They'll be like Style Bender. Israel Adesanya, by the way. But that's what I'm saying. Like John Jones is another one, you know. Yeah. But even then, John Jones has been around for years. You know, his entire career has been in the UFC. It's not cool because you know, like I said, a lot of these guys they put their entire lives for this. So many people get burned out. It's insane the amount of people. You think it's hard to make it into the NFL, the MLB, They at least have like feeder programs that kind of get you there. Yeah. This is a completely different game. You got to make sure you are on your P's and Q's, and on top of all that money that you're not making, you also still have to pay your coaches. Let's say you get like a nutritionist that helps you get to the level you need to be. That's money out your pocket, man. Rent, you got kids, whatever. Yeah, these guys are just not making the money.
Yeah, the gym.
It's not it. Yeah, the gym too. You got to pay for all that. It's insane the amount of cost that comes with that. You're not just get recruited by a team and now you're on there. There are like MMA gyms and there are MMA teams, we'll call them, but they don't work the same way that any other professional sport does, where they'll recruit you onto there. You walk in, like me and you walk into a Planet Fitness, they're walking into American Top Team. Yeah, you know, you're not going to go train with Khabib or DC or any of those dudes right away, but you'll work your way up there. You'll get your rounds, and then you'll become one of those guys. But it takes you a hot minute to get to that point. So I just feel like it's not worth it sometimes. I feel like I wouldn't. Even if I was
really
younger
have to
and
love
I knew the sport, I wouldn't get into it. It's one of those things
that has to be like your dream was to as a kid.
I think it's one of two things. I think it's more important that you have no other options. It's not even like this is your dream and you're like a little kid's like, I want to be a football player. No. It seems to me the people who are champions, that are the elite, the top of the top, they are the people that have no other options. Their back is against the wall. They were in a horrible situation growing up, childhood, family. They were super poor, whatever it may be. And some way, shape, or form, they found this sport.
Yeah, they were backyard knuckle boxing for some little cash to feed the family.
Every big name you can think of, for the most part, that's their story. It's rare that you'll find that there's some prim and proper, upper middle class, whatever, that made it to these great fights and did very well and had a crazy career. And I'm not saying everybody grew up in abuse, but to an extent, this isn't a sport that if you had your options, you wouldn't go into getting punched in the face for money.
Dude, I feel
especially when you find out the money.
Yeah, a lot of fighters are tapped in some way.
No, they gotta be. Dude, your favorite is Sean Strickland, bro. He's crazy.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get him on the pod.
Yeah, it's funny because I've had a favorite fighter. It's changed so many times in the past,
as well as it should.
Couple months.
As well as it should. The thing is with the sport, I'll tell you this, man. It's a recency bias. You don't. Yeah. I like to compare it to other sports because I feel like it's the easiest for people to understand why this one is so different. You watch how many games are there in an NBA season? Forgetting the finals and all that other stuff.
82.
You're watching every week. You're seeing the same, for the most part, same set of dudes play 2-3 times a week. Same thing with any other team. The NFL, the MLB. But there's 300 baseball games a year. You're watching the same people all the time. So you can grow to like a team, or you can grow to really enjoy a certain handful of players. But when it comes to this, you see a fighter really active is 3 times a year.
Yeah,
that's crazy. 3 times a year is really active. So you don't really see these guys that often. So when you go and you're watching on a Saturday and you see somebody get put to sleep, you're like, yo, this guy's my favorite. You know? Yeah. But it's just because you didn't know. You're not.
Strickland's fought so many times in the past.
I love the active fighters, man.
Yeah, fighters.
It's one of those things of some people get to the point where they're like, all right, I'm just doing it for the love of the game. But then a lot of people, like the guy we're about to talk about, Kevin Holland, who's just like, give me that paper. Yeah. I know how this game goes. I'm not waiting for you to give me whatever. I'm going and I'm taking. So Kevin Holland versus Michael. Go ahead.
Olex.
There you go. Kevin Holland won via submission in round 1. Kevin Holland, we're going to give a quick preface. Love the guy. One of my favorite fighters. I'm going to be honest with you. He is just a guy that Dana White gives him a call. I need you to step in on a week's notice. Who is it? I don't care. I'm fighting him. It's just so cool to see that he's just down with the shits. He's just down to sign me up. I need to get this bread. He'll literally be like, I just bought 3 more cars. Somebody's got to pay for them. What am I gonna do? He's just flexing and spending, and he's playing the game correctly, in my opinion. I don't know, but
performance of the night, by the way,
one of the, I would say, coolest but grossest things about this sport is seeing a body part snap. It's not often that you see it in regular life. Listen, as somebody who has played sports before, I've broken bones, I've fractured things, I've seen some pretty gross stuff. Yep. Shout out to my boy Brent Jackson. I remember that one game, I think it was freshman year of high school. That leg didn't need to do that, man. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that happened. But
it is wild when you see some.
You see your arm, when the arm does this, but it goes the other way. That's not fun. That's not fun. Kevin Holland submitted Michael
Olex
in the first round in the most horrific way I've ever seen. He gets him in, so they get into a scramble. He gets him into an arm bar. Kevin Holland has this man's arm. It's tight. It's in there. It should have ended. That guy should have tapped. Shout out to Michael. You're a savage. He did not tap. Kevin Holland looks at Michael, looks at the ref, looks back at Michael, and notices he's not going to tap. What does Kevin Holland do? Takes the arm, leans further back into the arm bar, snaps the arm like a baseball over a leg. You hear the bah! Pulls even harder back, and then the ref has to stop it. Michael still didn't tap.
That's good for him, yo.
Michael still didn't tap. The ref had to end it, and then Michael gets up and then complains. I also think it's not Michael. I think it's going to be Michelle or something like that because he's 4. I don't know. But it's crazy. Mikael. We're going to call him Mikael. But it's crazy to me that he didn't even tap as he heard and felt his arm completely pop. Yeah. Then after the fight, after the ref stops it, mind you, he's still complaining. He's still complaining that he didn't tap. The ref shouldn't have ended it. He goes to get up and he goes to post on that arm and just noodle It just like you took a bag of pudding and dropped it on the ground. Like
some Jello.
It's like Chris Weidman, Uriah Hall when he threw that leg kick and it just went the other way. I just hate it, man. It's the worst. But shout out Kevin Holland, bro. That's why we love this sport, bro. It's just some savage stuff, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like I love these fighters to go out there and there's the performance tonight. As a part of it is also goes on the fighters. Like I feel like some of these fighters don't go out there and they try to like dance around, scoot around, point fight. Nah. If you go in against somebody like Kevin Holland, who's usually trying to kill you, you got to match him with that same energy because there's no way out of that. And that was round 1. I've seen him get way worse. So shout out to Kevin Holland for getting that one done.
Snapping arms for sure,
bro.
That's the point, man. You got to take him out. You got to take him out somehow.
We were talking earlier. Don't leave it in the ref's hands. He did not. He left like his hand in the ref's hand after he broke that guy's arm. Like, Chuck, come on.
The ref's hands.
After that, we got Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa.
Yeah.
Sean won via decision. Yeah. This one has been the most controversial thing on my timeline for the last 3 days. Preface to this, I'm an MMA junkie. I'm a fan. I love the sport. I bleed. I also get really sleepy, so I fell asleep during this fight. So, Ariel, what happened? I only saw highlights, dog.
Pretty much, Sean Strickland was hunting this man down the whole fight. Costa didn't look like he was ready to fight. I don't know. His energy was very low. He def caught him a couple times, but for the most part, Sean Strickland was just like fucking, I don't know what.
He's just chasing him and him dancing around.
Just like a...
That's what I keep hearing.
Compared to like a animal hunting. Like
that's what I keep hearing. That's the thing. Like every take, I listen to like, I don't even know, like 6 or 7 different MMA podcasts. Obviously the big ones. We have the MMA Hour, Morning Combat, etc. But then I also listen to Pros versus Casuals. That's also another good one. You guys check that one out. A lot of people said the same thing. What the hell, Costa? It was just
Costa was like
these two dudes before the fight. Like I don't know if you went and watched all the pressers, all the embeddeds where they're counting down up until the fight. The whole time we're gonna go out there, we're gonna bleed for you guys, we're gonna stand and bang. Here I am, the dumb SOB that I am. I'm like, all right, here we go. We're gonna get Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje 2, but it's gonna be Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa. Can't wait to see it. 2 middleweights. They're gonna stand in the middle and they're gonna just straight up swing at each other. Nope.
Costa was running the whole fight.
That's what I saw. I saw that a lot of it was hit. Like the highlights that I looked into, because again, like I said, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. I had a long day that day. I fell asleep. Like I think a round into that fight, or maybe even before that, I passed out. Apparently, him and 3 other people were trying to wake me up, and I was just like on the couch.
We couldn't do it.
KO'd. But I looked into the highlights and I looked into the scores. It seemed like that's really what it was. It was Sean Strickland hunting down Paulo Costa, him not really returning back, a lot of circling around the cage. A couple things with that. I understand that there's like a system of like point fighting where you circle, get a couple jabs in, circle, maybe throw a kick, circle. Like you're not really letting the opponent set. Sean Strickland isn't a fighter that is like setting his feet down and just throwing bombs. Yeah. He's in your face, constant pressure, tagging you up. So
I noticed like this fight, he was really like putting that leg up a lot. Like if he was trying to defend like a leg kick or he was like...
That makes sense. Listen, Paulo Costa, I think he's like he's lost his last 4 out of 5 fights or something like that. But A, he's gone up against some pretty good fighters. And then B, the times that he has looked good, I have some things to say about Costa after this, but the times that he has looked good, he is explosive. That dude is athletic. For as big of a dude as he is just like pure muscle physique. Let him get that. You want to talk about a high kick, you want to talk about practicing that high kick. That high kick comes at you quick. He's fast. He has really good kickboxing. Yeah, so I get the defending of the kick, whether it be calf, body, or head kick. You got to keep it up.
It's constantly that.
Sean also has just really good defense in general. Like if you watch him against any other fighter, that's kind of his stance. Like he stands like this, but everything is just block, 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 weave, block, block.
Literally, like he was, and he was even on. I think in the press conference after he was saying that like fighters. Everybody's a good, not everybody's a good fighter, but there's a lot of good fighters, but you see like which ones can really fight after they get hit in the face. Yeah. And he said like Paulo Costa, once he got hit hard in the face, his whole demeanor changed.
I mean, him versus Izzy, Paulo versus Izzy was one where that was like my first introduction into him. Yeah. And he kind of showed the same thing. He gets tagged a couple times and he kind of like, the thing I knew about him, he gasses out early. Yeah. And B, like what you're saying.
These jack dudes just like, bro,
It's the Daniel Cormier bodies that are winning.
Yeah.
That beer gut belly.
Right.
You think about it, listen, you'll see some dude walk out. Like when you first start watching, you see some guy walk out shredded, just jacked.
I assume they're not gonna win when
Whack.
as soon as I see someone fucking ripped.
Whack.
So yeah, he's losing this.
Dude, Dagestani fresh off the couch with a beer gut will choke him out in 30 seconds.
Yeah, right.
It makes no sense. Because in any other sport, it's usually that's like you're like, oh, this dude's crazy athletic. You see that he's like, you know, in really peak physical shape. Same thing with the women fighters. A lot of the times, the ones that are like that like crazy peak physical shape aren't always the ones that are doing the most, or they're not usually the best fighters. They have like a round in them, and then round 2, 3, gone. And that's a big problem when you're trying to fight for a championship, and that hoe is 5 rounds. And you can't make it past round 1. You put in all your energy into that. And that's not good. So Costa needs to figure it out. Because at this point, he's a name. He's like we were talking about earlier, he's somebody that outside of fighting, a lot of fans. Yeah. I'm a fan.
I'm definitely a fan.
Follow him on Twitter.
He's definitely interesting.
His Twitter account, best Twitter account I've ever followed.
If you can figure out as a brand, if you can figure out both, how to be on social media and have a following, and be a good fighter without it being a distraction, then you have a good.
I mean, to me, it seems like he puts in the work and he puts in the effort, but there's just like something missing. Yeah, I don't know what it is. There's like a gear there that just isn't there because social media wise, like literally, the secret juice,
the secret juice.
Like fan wise, it's there. A lot of people do like him. Like fighting wise, in terms of like, do people like him as like a professional athlete? Think that he's going to be a world beater? Not necessarily, but people do like him, myself included. I just think that there's, like you were saying, like how focused are you and whatnot. There's something about it where maybe it's just that. Maybe like, I don't know. He didn't give really a lot of excuses or anything like that afterwards. One of the statements he puts out, he's like, I'm going back to the old me. I'm going back to the aggressive, going in there. I'm trying to kill you round 1. So good and bad thing, I guess, because it goes back into that. Are you going to completely gas out by the end of the first round and then not be able to keep going? Or are you going to put a little bit more thought into it, explode when needed, obviously fight-by-fight basis. But I don't know. I find that a lot of what I see about him is his social media. Like he'd post like 80 times a day, just shit posting.
I was surprised that like it seemed like Strickland actually liked the guy.
They do. Yeah, he's a fan. Sean Strickland is not, listen, Sean Strickland has a lot of bold opinions on people. Shout out Izzy and the dog. That whole thing was so bad. It was so bad. But
he definitely doesn't, I never know who he's gonna like or not like. I feel like he's gonna dislike he dislikes a lot.
I think he just doesn't like people that are fake. I think that like if you show him that you don't stand in what you say, that's when he doesn't like you. Because a lot of the stuff that he like I would say he preaches is like, I'm gonna say whatever I want to say, freedom of speech. America's the best. Like da 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 da. But for him, I find that a lot of these fighters, like if you say one thing, let's say like you're chirping back and forth on Twitter, and then once you get into the fight press conference and you're in that person's face, you start backing up. He's got beef with you. But if you're shit talking on Twitter, you're shit talking in person, and you shit talking in his face, he's like, I respect that.
Yeah,
he respects that. And then if you step in the cage with him, that's another level of respect. So
I feel like I know Sean Strickland.
You know 7 Sean Stricklands. We've gone over this. They all live in Salem. 2 of them in Lynn. But yeah, that one is one where I think that Costa needs to figure it out, because if not, he's going to be another one of these dudes that he had a title contend. He's going to be another Derek Brunson. He's going to have a title shot. It went away. He got into this weird middle ground where he's just losing. To the PFL you go. I don't know. He's going to have to figure it out. Sean Strickland, on the other hand, what do you think? Does he get a title shot?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think he deserves it. He just looks too like.
I feel like
he looks too good out there. I think he's too good at fighting in general to not be given a title fight.
I agree. I think that it's a weird thing where I get why. Well, I don't even. I guess it makes sense, but is he getting the title shot makes sense to me because he's somebody that he's put in all the work in the world, multiple title defenses, already Hall of Famer from everything that he's done, including especially with the Alex trilogy and all that kind of stuff. So I get why. And then him and DDP have like beef. So you got to listen. This is sports, but there's a little entertainment that goes along with it. If I'm number 1 and you're the champion, but you got more beef with number 4, they might give number 4 a shot before they give me a shot. And that's what happened to Sean Strickland. In my opinion, he did beat DDP when he fought him for the title. DDP, for whatever reason, won. I think he should have gotten an immediate rematch. Right?
Immediate rematch.
But then he got paired up with Paulo Costa for some reason, and I guess he whooped on him. So
he was saying, he was like, I didn't complain. I took the fight, got him out of there because it was too easy. It was like way too easy for Sean Strickland.
Well, I always go by the post-fight photo. It looked like Costa for sure got touched up a lot more than Sean did. Like it looked like all the punches were landing. Like all the punches were landing. So even with all that circle, I'm surprised he still got touched up like that. You remember his
like in karate shit at the end of the...
Oh, I saw that highlight clip. Like I said, I was asleep for most of this thing, but I saw that highlight clip where he like kicked up. But I don't know what the hell that was. He tried to get
but I like to see it because it's like we think of like Sean Strickland as like a straight hands. Like, like he showed a little Muay Thai in there.
That Muay Thai flying kick, that Bruce Lee showing him what's up. But then I think he's probably going to get the shot after whoever wins DDP versus Izzy. I think he's just next in line. There's a couple people that are in that like kind of title picture, but I don't see the point in having him rematch against any of these other guys or fighting any of the other guys. There's a couple contenders that are coming up in the rankings in middleweight that I think will have a title shot coming up. But John, you're next, my boy.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And then main event time. Islam Makhachev versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier.
I forget was it Rihanna?
Oh yeah, shine bright like a diamond.
Oh yeah, I forgot the song. I was gonna try to sing it.
Listen, like I was just saying, I was asleep. Like I don't know. I was awake for the entire fight, the whole thing. Passed out. It had to have been like because I remember watching them walk out. So I feel like it had to be like right before the fight started. I just fell asleep.
What, a Sean Strickland
fight?
For
the Sean Strickland fight. Yeah. And then as the walkouts for Islam and Dustin are ending, I'm like asleep and all I hear is Juan. Wake up.
And you know what it is? I look over. I was like, damn, this is the main event. Let me see if I wake him up again. I look over and you actually like, you know when someone like, they're not awake at all, but they do a little stretch.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh, he's slightly out of the deep sleep. He's slightly out of the deep sleep. Let me try again. And I was like, what? And then you actually open your eyes, and I was just like, oh shit! The perfect timing too.
I woke up and it's that feeling where you're like, oh, you wake up, you're like clearing the dust of your eye. What's going on? I look at my TV and I just see Dustin Poirier standing in the octagon. I'm like, let's go! The adrenaline just like shot through my veins. I was like,
instantly awake. Like there wasn't like a.
I shot out of the couch and was on the edge of the couch, like okay. Locked in and focused. Like I wasn't just asleep. Like it was the best power. Now, God, this one was one that I was so excited for. Listen, I'm going to be very transparent here. Do I think that Dustin Poirier was the pick for this fight? No. Do I think it made sense in terms of keeping Islam active and whatnot? Yes. Do I think that Dustin was Islam's hardest test? No. I actually argue that Volk gave him a harder time in the first fight.
Okay.
I don't think it was a cakewalk. I will say that for Islam, but listen, Islam won. This is one of the 3 finishes on the entire card. He won via Darce choke submission in the 5th round.
That was crazy.
Like 2 minutes left, bro. But it doesn't. I'm gonna be honest with you. It doesn't really matter if you look at the points and you look at the scorecards and everything like that, dude. Islam
was dominant.
He was piecing him up.
I haven't seen that level of dominance in sports in general. It just felt like Jesus Christ. This guy it's like a heavy. It felt like I was watching a heavyweight. I don't want to disrespect Dustin that much, but like it felt like a grown man, literally UFC fighting a child.
I don't know.
A teenager.
I don't know if I do.
The way he was like able to pin him down like.
So that's something I don't really understand. Where that's like an unnatural strength. I feel like I'll say some because not all, but some of these Dagestani wrestlers that are part of Team Khabib Mainly them, it seems like.
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of, he's a Olympic wrestler. Oh, multi-time college Olympic or college athlete in wrestling and this, that, and the third. No one does it like them.
I was like, what are you guys doing?
I don't know what it is that they train. It's a combat sambo is apparently their thing, but it's like the moment they grab you, Khabib and Islam specifically, we'll go with those two. The moment they grab you, it's not, how do I get out of this? It's, when am I going down? Like, you know it's happening. Like,
yeah.
Shout out to Dustin for being able to fight off a lot of those takedowns.
He did a good job.
I'm going to disagree with you on what you said about like a grown man.
No, but like
Dustin was doing his thing.
He did do a good job with like defense, takedown defense.
The takedown defense was there. I think that he did a good job of being able to spin him around, keep him on the outside, making sure that he couldn't lock his hands to get him down.
He was definitely like relentless.
Oh, that's
like,
the thing.
Relentless grabbing. Like it seemed like Dustin was constantly trying to get out of shit.
Yeah.
It's just like, I got like, you're just like in a freaking pit of freaking snakes and they're trying to
grappling,
pull you down, and you just like, you're trying to take the snake off you. They got your
This
ankles.
is about to be such a deep reference. It is the first Harry Potter movie when they're in that weird black snake pit thing, and Hermione's like, just relax and it'll go. That. Like, it's like that, where the more you move, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
It's exactly like that. But low-key, that's actually the best way to look at it.
Yeah, right.
It's true. Is that one thing is it's like, all right, bet. I'm shooting the double. Oh, doubles not work? All right, bet. Where's that single leg? Single doesn't work? All right, bet. Where's the ankle pick? Like, it is just transition.
Constant. If not, he'll throw that random fucking
Muay Thai clinch and he'll get you
throw that knee. And I was just like, yo, watch out for that. He gonna catch you with that.
Honestly, that was the way I thought it was gonna go. I was expecting after round 2 or round 3, the Muay Thai clinch came into play so much. Right. I was waiting, but Dustin,
because he caught him on the nose, right?
Yeah. So I thought it was going to be Islam was gonna crack him with a knee, and it was gonna be over for Dustin. Dustin actually started like. To me, at least, again,
I think like
his vibes. I just woke up. He was using it to his advantage. That's why he started breaking the Thai clinch, and that's why he would throw an elbow, throw a quick up, like, you know what I mean, just trying to break out of there.
He did do a great job. Like, once he was able to like get away from his grasp, once he created that space to really catch him with those.
So
hands.
he knew I think Dustin knew that on the feet was his best chance. That's why he was like, I'm gonna knock you out. But Islam outstruck him. Islam looked like a boxer.
Yeah.
Not, this whole thing about like, MMA fighters going to boxing and boxing going over to MMA. Islam at some points looked like he was straight up boxing in that ring. Like, he wasn't MMA, because MMA boxing is different than like actual boxing, but he looked like he was stick and move, hit the bot. You know what I mean? Like, he was really landing combos, very focused in the fire. Islam's a champion. I don't know. I'm not going to be nut hugging here like crazy. Obviously, this sport is unbelievably unpredictable. You have no idea at any point anybody can get caught. A few months ago, everybody was Volkanovski's the greatest of all time. Pound for pound, no one will ever beat him. Head kick knocked out by Islam. Where are we now?
Yeah.
I keep seeing this TikTok trend that is my favorite, to be honest with you. It's MMA fighters, and they'll have Frank Sinatra's My Way playing in the back, and you'll just see them all like becoming champions. And then out of nowhere, you just see them like all one by one, head kick knocked out, choked out, just beaten, defeated. And you're just like, that's the sport.
Yeah.
That's the game. You don't have these, I'm paying millions of dollars to stack this team with the best players in the country. No. You have dogs that are going in there, and at any moment, you can get Leon Edwards head kicked in the last like 30 seconds of that.
For sure, yeah.
To this day, it still kills me. But as I'm saying, like, Islam, like you were saying, dominance from the beginning.
It's scary. Like, when you think of like being in Dustin's shoes, like someone that fucking.
What do you do?
Just try to grab you and just say, yo. You're trying to throw hands, but somehow they always catch you. They always find a grasp.
Can't throw a kick because he's going to grab that leg, whatever it may be.
Like,
that's part of it. Like we were talking about earlier about like who gets into this sport. That's what I'm saying. You can't have any other options.
Yeah.
It is this or nothing. Like in that moment, you can't be, damn, I had a good job as an accountant. I could just go back to that. No, because you have this murderer in front of you. That's
Islam's literally like murders bears with his bare hands.
Yeah.
Like he can literally probably pin down a bear.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about this entire fight was like the idea going into it. Dustin fought Khabib, who is known to be one of the best. There's always people arguing over who's the best. Khabib is arguably one of the best fighters. Perfect record, amazing, just wow, dominant. But the thing with him,
it's just like Jesus Christ,
it was all grappling. Like, you want to talk about when is he going to get you down? That was Khabib.
Yeah.
Khabib was just a takedown machine, relentless. Where did the energy come from? I have no idea. He was just takedown after takedown after takedown after takedown. When is he going to ground and pound you? When is he going to submit you? When is this unfair fight going to be over? That's all I feel like that's all you're thinking while you're in there. But the question that was going into this fight, how does Dustin pair against Islam, and how well does Islam do against Dustin compared to how well Khabib did against Dustin? Because Khabib got him out of there. Now, where I see where people are like, oh, like they made it to the 5th round and this and the 3rd, like you were saying, like I'm not going to go ahead and say that he was beating him like that bad because it was a fair fight. Yeah. Dustin had his moments.
He had his moments. At the end, I think once he cracked him and Islam started leaking, the momentum started to really change where like
I could see that.
He had a real strong chance of knocking him out.
He did. He got a listen. There was like 1 or 2 1-2s where I was like,
and like Islam was like down to stay standing.
Yeah,
like, for a little bit at the end.
So I don't know how true this was because I didn't. Obviously, they have the announcers and everything talking. I wish that they gave an options where you can just kind of like mute the ring announcers and you just watch the fight and hear the corners. But apparently, at one point, and I saw this part, Dustin starts chirping at Islam. I think in the fourth round or something like that, where he's like, he hits him with a clean 1-2. That's where I'm saying like he literally had a 1-2 or 1-2 that he needed to get. He hits him with a 1-2. And he starts chirping at Islam, and he's just like, I told you, I'm right here, ba-da-ba-ba. And then Islam starts to chirp back and almost starts to trade with him, like get into that ring of fire. Just da-da-da. Khabib is yelling at the corner, don't do it, take him down, don't get into it. Like, you gotta, that's the mind games that they play.
No, right, because if he would have just like stuck to the game plan maybe and just like relentlessly continued trying to take him down, he ended up winning by submission, right?
He ended up winning by submission in the craziest takedown I've ever seen. By the way, Dustin's fighting out of this egregious takedown. I think it was like started off as a double leg, then he gets the back, manages to get out of there, spins out. Islam grabs him. If people are debating on what it's called, I'm gonna just say an ankle pick. Gets him basically by an ankle pick where he grabbed his ankle, he swung his body to the side. No, he grabs his ankle and he swings him around.
The way he threw him by his ankle.
Basically just off the motion of the spin, the immediate grab to the takedown, to the transition to the Darce choke.
Yeah. If Dustin had enough energy to like land and get up before he can get on.
That was, I think, a big part of it.
Like once he got caught with that ankle, it's just like he landed. It's like,
I think he was defeated.
Yeah, it's like, damn, I don't have the energy.
The wild part is
back up like that.
It was like right as he like taps. So Islam gets him in the Darce choke. Dustin taps, and I swear to God, like, and Dustin says it too.
Yeah,
it's like he tapped, and the moment you see Islam's arm come off of him, Dustin just goes to bed.
Yeah,
it was like that millisecond from tap to let go. He went. Like
might as well just go, bro.
I think you should just go to Justin Gaethje has that mentality.
Yeah,
I think just like I'd rather go to bed.
I'd rather go to bed too. I've been knocked out. not by another.
Well, you gotta. It's a point like people are arguing, and this is gonna be
crazy.
It's not. Well,
it is crazy, but it's
this is the next subject. Is like
going to sleep.
For Dustin. This was a lot of it was. Is this his last go? Is this his last fight? Is this his last anything? I think he's not done.
Yeah.
I think he is at a point where he's made all the money in the world. Remember, guys, he's beat Conor twice. Just fighting Conor gets you paid. Beating Conor?
Beating Conor twice.
And the way he did, too. KO?
His resume is amazing.
Well, he's one of the only fighters, if not the only fighter, that a lot of people argue is Hall of Fame, no title. Interim, I guess, if you count it, but a lot of people don't. But that's his thing, is that he has now fought 3 times for the lightweight belt, and 3 times he has failed, unfortunately. So for him, he's like, I got into the sport to be a champion. If I'm not going to be a champion, why am I still in the sport? He's paid. He's well known. He's got brands and businesses outside of the UFC thanks to the money he's made in the UFC. Does he keep going?
He's beating all the best of his division.
And he's still there. He is still crisp.
And he's still,
sharp,
he's still good enough to compete against or even beat a lot of these like.
But that's the part of it, is that like, is it worth it? Because here's my thing. I personally think with the way that this division is set up right now, it is unfortunate he'll have to fight 2 more big ones. And I think depending on the situation, he can get there. This also will go into a couple of another like topic that I wanted to ask you. A part of it is he has a couple of more big fights that he can do.
Yeah.
Where he can just get paid. At that point, it's not even being set. It's just being wealthy. Like, you never have to worry about it. I think he should probably do that, but a lot of it comes in terms of your health too. You're also putting your health on the line. This isn't like going to go pick up an extra shift at work. This is like, you got to train, do a camp. You got to put your family on pause so you can kind of focus on that. Yeah. So it's a lot. But I think that there's a couple more big fights for him. Luckily, by the time that we are recording this, it is currently June 5th, Wednesday. Volkanovski says that he wants to fight him.
It's a good fight.
That's a good fight.
That's a good fight. I like that.
It's a good fight. Yeah. Granted, Volk is over here. One of the other things I wanted to bring up is the whole Conor situation and the fight that's happening on June 29th. It seems like Conor may or may not be in that fight. But Volk's also like, sign me up for that one too. Volk's a problem.
Yeah.
Volk needs to...
he feels like he deserves every fight, but I feel it.
I don't think he says he deserves every fight. I think he's just like, I'm the fighter. Like, he's just like, put me in him. I don't care. I'll fight him. I'll fight whoever. What's the weight class? I'll be in there.
Yeah,
like, that's
a good mentality to have, because when you're fighting...
It works against you sometimes.
Yeah, 100% works against you, but like... You should be a dog enough to like want to fight the best of the best.
I agree with you. I think you should have that mentality, but you should also have your wit's end about you and your
you need your agent kind of be like
you got to think about it like the Kevin Holland, like I said earlier, that situation. He's fighting great fighters. All the fighters in the UFC are great for the most part.
Yeah.
But like these guys are all the top of the top. That's the only reason they're in the UFC. So there's a part of it where it's like, yeah, you're fighting these like amazing fighters and these killers. So you want to get as much money as you can, but you also got to pick and choose who you're fighting.
Yeah.
Fighting somebody somewhat last minute on a few weeks' notice is super difficult, especially when it's not somebody you've trained for. Now, when you have a guy like Volk who's on like a few weeks' notice being like, yeah, let me get Islam. That's how you get head kick KO'd, which you did.
Yeah.
You can't.
I don't think Islam's someone that like his style is so difficult.
Yeah,
his style is so difficult to fight against that you can't take that fight. I will on a short notice.
He is the thing with Islam is I feel like he is the MMA fighter.
Yeah,
you want to talk about stand up and striking. Yeah. You want to talk about grappling, wrestling, jiu-jitsu.
Especially where grappling is like I want to say falling off, but it feels like it's not as huge, as big as it was before.
I think it's something.
Like submissions were always like there's people that used to
because everybody's good at it now.
Yeah.
That's the thing with this. It's like the same way that
the
NBA is all 3-point shots now. It's the generations of what they see. So at first, with nobody knowing what the hell jiu-jitsu was, bro, you can walk in there, someone's like, I'm a boxer or a street fighter. You're getting taken down, you're going for a ride, you're getting choked out. Like you don't know what you're doing on the ground. Now, like there's like almost like a base meter that you should be good in XYZ. We're going to talk about the UFC game. Your rating should be at least balanced to start as unranked nobody. And then you go from there. I will say there are people that obviously have their specialties in certain things, but to become the best or one of the best, you have to upgrade your skills in other ways as well, because you can't just rely on that. What happens if you're a phenomenal grappler and someone is managing to stop all that? Now, I mean, you have to box.
Yeah.
Now what? You ain't got hands for shit.
Yeah.
I'm piecing you up.
Right.
Islam, take me down. Put me on the feet. Put me up against the cage. Where you want it? You're getting the ass whooped. Like, Islam is whooping that ass no matter what. Whereas, like, some other fighters, I feel like they focus too much on, like, one aspect of their game. Let's say the wrestling and stuff like that. When that stuff fails, they don't know what to do anymore. Yeah, that's not good either. You can't be like that. You have to attempt to be at least as well-rounded as possible. And that's part of when I say, like, taking these short notices like fights don't work out the best. I think that Dustin and Volk, if that were to happen in terms of just having a big money fight, do that in the fall. Volk is still recovering from the Islam knockout. So
Dustin, give him I don't know. At least get some time so he can rest and think.
Broken rib, partially torn ACL. And I forgot what the other thing was that he got after that fight. He took a beating, bro. Like, listen, I'm standing up for him and saying that he did really well. Like, he held his own. He showed us why he was there. But you're not wrong in some aspects where Islam was whooping that ass.
Yeah.
Islam showed it. Now, I guess we're gonna get on this last and final subject here. What's next for Islam?
What's next for Islam?
Here's the question. Islam. Now 3 title defenses at 155. 2 of those defenses, both of them were Volkanovski. Not a 155er, a 145 pounder that went up to 155.
Got you.
First actual title defense at 155 has been against Dustin Poirier. We've had this conversation a couple times, both here and outside of here. I personally think you should have around 3 title defenses before you talk about moving around in weight, up or down, I don't care. Here's the thing. Now you have below him at 145, Ilia Topuria, who's already like double champ.
Yeah.
He just won it. He hasn't even defended. He's just like, give me it now. Then you have Arman Sarukian, who is the next contender at 155.
Yeah.
That's the next one to make. And then on top of that, you have Islam himself, who's like 170. I want Leon Edwards. What's next for Islam Makhachev?
I say, is it Sarukian?
Arman Sarukian. That's at 155.
I say you fight him. And after that, then he should just go up. Because he looks like he's meant for 170. Like he's powerful enough to compete against. Imagine him just fucking 20 more pounds of muscle. Just like,
see, that's the part that I'm a little intrigued to see because like
see how he moves.
Leon Edwards is no joke. Leon Edwards, I think he's like 6'2". I think Islam's around like 5'10" or so. Leon Edwards walks around a little heavier than he does.
Yeah.
Amazing striking.
Yeah.
One of the best, if not the best, in the UFC right now.
Right.
Takedown defense on 10.
Yeah.
Stuffed the takedowns from both Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, that was nuts.
And Colby Covington. And took them both down. Kamaru Usman has never been taken down. First takedown? Leon Edwards.
Crazy.
All I'm saying. I think Arman, you're right. That's the next one. I think Arman will be his easiest. Not an easy fight. I think it'll be his easiest out of those 3, surprisingly. I think Ilia will give him work.
Oh, yeah.
I think Ilia will give him work. I don't think he beats him. I think I think he actually gets finished by Islam early.
He does. You know what it is? Is when I see like Dustin's resume, I know Islam's not that old.
Yep.
But I just feel like in your division or weight class, like you might... I feel like he needs maybe 1 or 2 more.
His thing with it,
big fights.
A lot of the guys that are in not all of them. A lot of the guys that are in the top 5-ish or so that would be title contenders, you beat him.
Yeah.
Or he beat the guy that beat him. Or he beat the guy that beat him bad. Whatever that may be. Like Justin Gaethje was supposed to be the guy. Got put to sleep by Max Holloway at 300.
Yeah.
What are we going to do with him? Give him a title shot for what? Going to bed? No.
Yes, yeah, you can't do that.
No. Charles Oliveira, I love the dude. Also, he got beat by Arman Sarukian. Can't give him a title shot. Dustin Poirier just got beat. Conor McGregor, you don't deserve it. Michael Chandler, I'm sorry. Don't deserve it as of right now. You already had your chance. Not going to happen. I don't see who else at 155 besides Arman Sarukian. And if that, Arman deserves it because he's also on like a crazy win streak. Give it to Arman.
Yeah.
See what happens. And after that, 170.
Yeah.
I don't think him moving down to 145 makes a whole lot of sense.
Would you have him fight Leon Edwards right away?
Not right away. I'd have him fight Arman Sarukian probably in like the fall. Because Arman's whole thing.
When he moves up, would he fight to?
Yeah. What
to get the championship?
He's a champion. Well, there's no reason he should fight. Listen, I understand that there's some like bigger names and stuff like that, maybe at 170.
What if he's not?
Bilal Muhammad.
What if
Bilal Muhammad?
If Muhammad ends up winning that, now
I don't think that. Here's the thing.
I don't want that fight though.
I think that the UFC would still make the fight. It's one of those things of internationally, I think it's a bigger fight.
Yeah.
I think internationally it might be a bigger fight. And listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you do Leon Edwards versus Islam, I think it's an alright fight. Islam is not a huge draw, so I don't think a lot of people really like tune in for that. US wise, outside of the US, yes,
he's definitely someone that like his talent speaks for. You know how this
Islam Makhachev versus Bilal Muhammad, Abu Dhabi.
Oh my God,
that's the fight.
That's huge.
That's a huge fight. I still think Islam walks over him.
Do you think like if Muhammad wins, would he? What's the chance they still pair him with Leon Edwards?
I think it depends on how he wins.
Or is it usually if someone moves up, they fight the champion?
They fight the champion. Okay. Usually. So in this situation where it's he's already the champ, so he would move up to fight the champ. I think that would be the best bet. I see that's kind of how this year plays out. I probably put them two. I put Islam versus Arman Sarukian, probably September, October, and then first quarter, second quarter of 2025. We book him to fight at 170 against whoever the title holder is at that time. I think that's the move because Leon and Bilal, I believe, are fighting in July.
I feel like if you have freaking Khabib in your corner, like
it's cheating.
It's it's like he's little. I remember there was a clip in one of his old fights that he was just like literally just freaking breaking the fight down, just like telling them like move by move what to do, and he's listening and doing move by move what Khabib is telling him to do.
He was telling Islam,
and then and then he ends up winning the fight. I forget who he was fighting that one.
I think that was him versus Dan Hooker.
Oh, okay.
I think it was him versus Dan Hooker, and he was telling him how to get him in either armbar or Kimura, something to do with his arm.
Yeah.
And he was literally like because he got him into the corner. He was like
perfect.
You said,
now do this, and
he was just perfect.
Say okay, so now you're gonna go on.
Those dudes train so hard, bro. I believe it, man. I think it's one of those things of they from kids, like they know nothing but that. So like when they hear Coach Khabib on their ear telling them this, that, and the third, they know it's this, that, and the third is the key to victory. It is the win. It's not he's just telling you some shit.
Yo, that's God talking.
Oh, that's the dude, bro. That's like that's insane. I just think that there's so many good fights that are gonna come up soon. I think that Islam, he gets a lot of hate. I think it's because people are used to their fighters, and I think that people aren't a big fan of these like Russians that are coming over and taking over the sport. If you're a fan of the sport, of the athletes, Islam is that guy.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, there will always be another guy.
Yeah.
So we can't wait to see who that's going to be.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been your host of the most, Quanderbread. As always, heavyweight champion, REG. Thank you for tuning in to Uneducated Takes. This is Uneducated MMA. We out.